this changed my life. Well, it changed Destiny for me forever. This one thing has completely changed how I play the game of Destiny 2. This is probably the most earth-shattering thing to have affected my Destiny 2 career. Can we call it a career? This thing was massive. I want to talk to you about Peeker's Advantage. I wrote it off in my last video as not really worthwhile. Maybe that's true, but that's not the point. Peeker's Advantage changes how you play the game. If you play for Peeker's Advantage, you learn that the duel that you are engaging with another player is not lost based off of who fired the first shot. It's lost based on who saw the other player first. That is the single most important learning I've had ever in the history of all time, space. The whole universe is imploding inside of my mind right now because of this one thing. It has completely changed how I play the game. I now understand that the duels that I've been losing in Destiny 2 have been because I have been not the first player to see the other player. The duel is over once you realize that you didn't see the other player first, and that is also the last moment that you have to get out safely. Once the first round has been fired, you've probably lost. If you realize that you're losing at the moment that you don't see the other player first and you exit, you have a chance to actually escape. Because you start in your mind moving to escape even before that first round hits. So you may still get hit with that round, but you've decided to move before the round hit, which means the second round doesn't hit.
5 minutes.
And that's key. Understanding that you've lost the battle before the first round hits. This journey began for me from a comment from one of my videos about Peeker's Advantage, and I have mentioned it in prior videos and not given it enough research or mind space. Digging deeper, I learned it's really about seeing the other player first, and I began experimenting with it to see just what it would be like, if there would be a difference, and it did something unexpected. What I did not expect was that this subtle change in my goal for an engagement would completely alter how I move throughout the entire game. It would shape my motion for every engagement into a dance that I didn't even know existed. Every time I move now, I am moving with the express intent of being the first person to see the other player. I get out here. I get out. Because why? I didn't see them first. I'm retreating here not to hide, but because I want to enter the engagement. I want to enter. I want to be in control of how this engagement is going to start. Yes, I was low health in that earlier clip, but I was retreating not to hide, but to take control. Basically, what I want to try and highlight here is that with every single engagement, my goal is to be always the one entering the lane where the other player is already there. That was the key learning. So if I walk into a lane, what I used to do, if I didn't see the player already in that lane, is I would stand there, maybe strafe if I'm, feeling it all smart, and I would wait, hardscope, wait for the enemy to step into the lane and shoot them. Well, that goes against Peeker's Advantage. The whole idea behind Peeker's Advantage is that due to latency, their client knows where I am already and knows that I'm visible if they round that corner instantly. Whereas my client has to wait for their decision to make that move around the corner before it can draw them visible on my screen. And so you always want to be the one moving from being in control of when the two players can see each other. Because if you're in control of when that event happens, then you will see it first. And if you see it first, you can shoot first, right? So the idea is, if I'm standing out in a lane like this, and I realize that I didn't see the other player's not already there, there's no reason to stay in that lane. Get out of the lane. Get out of the lane and re-enter. And it creates this interesting little dance where you're constantly sliding into the lane, looking for the player, and sliding out. And then what that forces you to do, because you can't see the player there, is focus a whole lot more on your radar. I've always had trouble focusing on my radar, and this sort of naturally fixed that. Because I'm now trying to make sure that I don't stand in a lane if another player is going to potentially be there if they aren't already there when I enter. So I need to be able to see the players when I can't see them, so that I know when they are potentially approaching a lane, so that I know that it's worth sliding into, on the hopes that they'll be there when I get there. And if they're not, I need to get immediately out, check the radar again. If they're still there, I'll try it again. And it creates this dance. And the thing is as I started doing this dance, I started to notice that the other players were doing the same dance. And it's a dance I never understood before. I would see players slide into lanes and slide out, and it just seemed like it was a skill that I could never really acquire. I didn't really understand the reasoning behind it. Why were they sliding in when they slid in? How did they always seem to know how to slide in at just the right time so that they could get in, get a shot, and get off? Are they faster than me, right? What's going on? And I didn't really understand the decision-making process behind it. What was driving them to slide when they did? Why were they always able to slide in, get a shot, and slide out so perfectly? Now I understand that it really doesn't take that much thought at all. All they're worrying about is being the first player to see you. And if not, they slide back out. And every shot they fire, they want that shot fired to happen when they are the first player seeing you. So if they fire a shot, they're going to get back to cover so they can re-enter again and get that peeker's advantage on every single shot. Your goal is not to get those shots fired off as quickly as possible and get the lowest possible TTK. Your goal is to make sure that every shot that you do fire happens in a situation where the enemy cannot see you, which means taking time. You want to go to cover. You want their client to register the fact that you were behind cover. That's probably important. Not only that you went behind cover, but that their client finally knows that you're behind cover. And no matter how they move, they're not going to be able to be in control of when they can see you. Not easily, not without a significant amount of motion. You, on the other hand, are in a position where you can move a very little bit and be in control of when the two players can see one another. And because you're in control, if you make that move, your client already can see the other player. They cannot see you until they know that you've made that decision. So when you're peek shotting, you want to slow down enough to make sure that the enemy client actually registers the fact that you went behind cover. If you're peek shotting so fast that you have not, the other client doesn't even know that you've gotten behind cover, then you've completely nullified any advantage. If their client can still see you, they can still shoot you. You need to be behind cover, and that way, and only that way, can you enter and be invisible to the enemy player, right? So,
Shut the enemy down.
keeping that in mind, taking every single engagement that you can and trying to engage as the first person to see the other player, again, changes everything. All right, that's mostly what I wanted to cover from a general sort of conceptual standpoint. What I'd like to do now here is slow down some of this footage, because what I'm going to go do is try and talk through what I'm doing and try and illustrate or highlight the fact that I see him. After peeking, I've seen him, and I want to then engage. The idea being that if I peek out, I don't see anyone, then I retreat. I peek out, if I see someone, then I know there's a chance that I've seen them first, and it's an ideal engagement. I didn't see him first, he saw me, so I'm retreating. Now I'm going to peek knowing that he's out there and engage. Every engagement's going to be like that. That's the idea. He saw me first. I know he saw me first, so I'm going to take cover first and then peek and engage. Now I looked out there, someone else took him out. But still, the idea is, again, it's not always going to work. The point is that it's definitely going to increase your survivability. I peek out, I didn't see anyone. So then I went back to cover. Peeked out, saw him. There's a chance I saw him first, so it's an engagement I can take part in. The idea is that I'm going to exit, ideally, before the first shot hits me, or I'm going to exit after he's got 1 round in me, but not after he's gotten 2, right? Now here I just get completely caught off guard, not much I can do there, because my eyes were downrange at the guy that I was trying to take out with my sniper. But peeking out here, maybe not the best example. 2 players were distracted. Here I needed to retreat. I didn't see anyone, but I couldn't get out of there fast enough. This player was pretty good. I think I have a couple examples of in here, maybe one coming up, where even though I believe I had a pretty solid peeker's advantage, that particular player was still able to take me out. I think it's right here. So I come out, I peek. Clearly, I should have seen him first. It looks like he's pre-firing, and that may be why. Maybe he's just watching the radar, kind of ready to fire before he even sees me. But he did seem to be able to. Here I'm kind of pinched, so it's not a great example, but I'm in the middle of the open. Enemy peeks. That's not where I want to be. I don't want to be where I'm in the middle of the open and I can't already see the enemy. So I would have ideally been retreating to cover there, but I think, obviously I was pinched between 2 players. A little tricky to understand the best move there. I had peeker's advantage there, but I wasn't pre-aimed at the right location. Still, that would have, I believe, been a pretty fast snipe on his part. Maybe he's just watching my radar and he's pretty aware of where I'm going to be coming out. I don't think it was fast enough to be concerned about cheating or anything like that, but it was a pretty fast snipe. Utility of grenade over grapple illustrated right there. Grapple would not have saved me in that engagement. All right. Again, I don't see anyone, so I'm going to take to cover. I see that he's out there, so now I can peek and get that shot. It's this subtle little dance that you're going to do around every corner. I don't see anyone, so I'm moving to cover. Now I see him. I know he's there, so I'm going to peek. I'm going to peek, right? He sees me. Move to cover. With a melee, I'm going to move to cover so that I can peek and shoot. Miss all my shots and die. But you get the idea. Land your shots is definitely going to be part of the equation. I need to be more confident, I think, no-scoping with my submachine gun from that range, because a lot of times if I can just drill the body for a couple rounds, I can then be sort of free of flinch, because they're getting flinched pretty heavily, and then I can ADS in and finish them off. Okay, I was already standing in the lane, knew he was coming, and I didn't take cover so that I could move out. And he got peeker's advantage, and he won. So I peek, no one there, so I'm moving back to cover. Now, fortunately, as I was moving back to cover, I got a lucky snipe there, but I would actually call that not a good example. Ideally, I would have entered from cover. I was doing the right thing in that I was retreating once I realized there was no one already in the lane when I entered, so I was moving back to cover. But the fact that I landed that snipe faster, even though he peeked the lane, was just I got a good, lucky, fast snipe. Earlier matches where I wasn't yet wiring this in on every single engagement, it was when I very first was trying it out, so I only had a couple of examples from these matches, whereas in the other matches I've been showing you, it was pretty consistent. But this is one of my first attempts to sort of apply this strategy, so I'm going to peek, I don't see him, I'm going to move to cover, because I want to peek. So when I was very first kind of trying to get this rhythm of like, he's not there, move to cover, right? Peek, already there, engage. I've been standing out in the open here, so I'm going to retreat to cover. It's not a fight that I can win. And I'm moving here to re-engage. in a position where I'm going to be peeking. So there's a dance going on before we're even shooting. Before we can even see each other, I'm just looking at the radar here so that I can enter the lane. I'm not running away. I'm trying to, you can see me turning back. I'm still engaging. I'm just trying to enter the lane. I'm trying to find a route where I can enter the lane where he's already standing in the open. And it's all looking at radar. The entire dance plays out before the two players even see each other. That's it. Hope that was helpful, guys. Have a chill ass week. Peace.